سلام بچه‌ها، حالتون چطور؟ امیدوارم که حالتون خوب باشه. با چنل آموزش زبان انگلیسی در خدمتتون هستم. تمامی فیلم هایی که توی این چنل قرار داده میشه برای آموزش زبان انگلیسی با استفاده از فیلم های متنوع هستش و با استفاده از زبان خیلی ساده میایم لغات خیلی متنوعی رو بهتون آموزش میدیم تا دایره لغاتتون گسترش پیدا بکنه. بنابراین اگر دنبال یه چنلی هستین که بتونید زبان انگلیسیتون رو تقویت بکنید و بتونین کلمات و لغات مختلفی رو یاد بگیرید و بدون اینکه سختی زیادی به خودتون بدین بتونین اونها رو حفظ کنید، حتما این چنل رو ساب کنید و لایک و کامنت یادتون نره و اینکه زنگوله رو حتما بزنید تا هر وقت براتون فیلم جدید آپلود کردم ازش مطلع بشید. امروز بخش دوم فصل دوم 504 لغات ضروریمون تموم شده. بنابراین من اومدم 3 تا درس اولش رو، یعنی درس 8 تا 10 رو براتون به صورت فیلم درست کردم تا اگر درسی رو از دست دادید یا اگر میخوایم مرور کنین قبل از اینکه وارد خود آزماییمون بشیم تمام لغات رو با هم دیگه مرور بکنیم و مجدد اونها رو دوره بکنید تا اینکه تمام لغات رو حفظ بکنید. خب بریم امروز وارد در واقع فیلم آموزشیمون بشیم و ببینیم که امروز قراره با هم دیگه چیا رو ببینیم و لغاتمون رو با هم دیگه یه دوره‌ای بکنیم تا برای آزمون بعدیمون آماده باشیم.
exaggerate, 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 exaggerate.
My analyst says I exaggerate my childhood memories, but I swear I was brought up underneath the roller coaster in the Coney Island section of Brooklyn.
The film did not exaggerate.
I hope for our sake they exaggerate.
How they exaggerate all this. The soldiers.
Prone to exaggerate the size of the cat.
Amateur, 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 amateur.
Cause of death was truly, solely suicide, and you are guilty of nothing but some damage to the trellis and a few amateur theatrics.
Eudora Fletcher is an amateur pilot, and the afternoon is spent relaxing and retelling old flying experiences.
It was an amateur, chef.
Even a reasonably good amateur would know it was mathematically the best hand.
There were 37 amateur fire brigades.
Mediocre, 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 mediocre.
My career has been mediocre, while your career has skyrocketed to the top.
I was just an average guy from an average place with mediocre aspirations.
The situation grows worse when she meets Luis Martinez, a mediocre and cowardly bullfighter with whom she falls in love.
I've seen some of the most mediocre dumbass chicks, but with the right guy, get very far.
There's nothing mediocre about Derek.
Variety, 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 variety.
But to really express myself in a variety of ways.
Should I discover a lapse in any variety during my absence, I promise swift and merciless justice will descend upon you.
I worked for a variety of sirs.
The efficiency and variety of our light industrial installations are a joy to behold.
Okay, what we've got in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York is a number of gay men who've been hit with a variety of opportunistic infections, and really that's all we
Ballad, 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 ballad.
No marriage other than a Christian marriage is considered valid.
Trace is confirmed invalid.
So without hooks, the conviction wouldn't be valid.
Do you honestly think that is a valid statement?
Finding a valid receipt for a faulty domestic appliance.
Survive. 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 Survive.
She will not long survive the evil that now spreads from Mordor.
What if he doesn't survive?
After so long, I know I must learn to survive on my own and accept you will not return.
But my natural instinct is to survive.
And I fear that it will not survive the winter.
Weird. 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 Weird.
I'll explain when I get home, and if anything weird happens, you call me right away.
That sounds weird. No.
You're imitating the God-Man. It's weird.
He was one of those guys that had that weird light around him.
I liked her because she was weird.
Prominent. 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 Prominent.
But it afforded Owen the opportunity to join a new faction in a prominent role.
The Jews have become far too prominent in many aspects of German life.
Bill Kern's sports show. His wife Seal adored a very prominent ventriloquist. And this always used to drive Abe crazy.
The constellation of Virgo is very prominent in the sky right now, in Scotland.
More prominent than other memories have been up on the screen.
Security. Security. Security.
In China, Lao Security Investment stands for Dynamic New Growth.
The office was closed and security tightened.
Simple. What about security?
Can you get us in past security?
I just worked the door. I'm just security.
Bulky. 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 Bulky.
Who's kind of bulky?
Will it make her bulky? Ron.
They'll be pretty bulky, but we only need to wear them when the powder's out in the open.
It's bulky, but I consider it carry-on.
Well, it is too bulky.
Reluctant. 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 Reluctant.
Since you are reluctant to provide us with the location of the rebel base.
And you yourself seem reluctant to see him hanged.
From the beginning, you seem so reluctant.
But I'm reluctant to fish around and cause problems for everybody.
Everything's taken care of, but I'm reluctant to talk on the phone.
Obvious. 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 Obvious.
Sir? Well, it's obvious this fellow Williams is impressed with you.
For obvious reasons, I couldn't wait for your permission.
Keaton was the real prize for them, for obvious reasons.
Even if it's obvious what the words mean.
Once you know, it's actually very obvious.
Vicinity, vicinity, vicinity.
Crawl outside his vehicle, but we have been unable to find his body anywhere in the vicinity of the accident.
Everything in the vicinity melts.
Attention all aircraft in the vicinity of the GW.
I found myself in the vicinity.
That signal left Earth at the speed of light, and 26 years later arrived in the vicinity of the star we call Vega.
Century, 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 century.
But I know he was really named after a famous 19th century ballet dancer.
Late 14th century Ming Dynasty.
Pagan symbols, 4th and 5th century.
Every decade, every goddamn century.
Not the storm of the century, nor a harrowing serum run could stop him.
Rage, rage.
Who feel neglected and turned away by the system.
But you are more intemperate in your blood than Venus, or like those pampered animals that rage in savage sensuality!
Well, fighting these odds, it looks like rage, not courage.
But I know the rage that drives you.
I just didn't realize how much rage I had.
Document, 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 document.
My lord, this document brings the entire British legal system into disrepute.
I want to document coldly, rationally, what is being done here.
A crucial document, either misplaced or conceivably destroyed.
Read that document carefully, Doc.
Some 200 years ago. The document is somewhat...
Conclude, 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 conclude.
Sixthly, lastly, why they are committed, and to conclude, what you lay to their charge.
They conclude that Zelig's malady can be traced to poor alignment of the vertebrae.
And thus we may conclude?
Well, that the man was very heavy.
Precisely.
I must conclude that you simply seek to increase my love by suspense.
I trust the enclosed document will let you conclude your business and return to Yale County.
Undeniable, 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 undeniable.
Facts are undeniable.
His facts are undeniable.
The facts are undeniable.
Are matters of undeniable fact.
And the undeniable third shooter?
Resist, 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 resist.
He can't resist showing us his face.
Hard to resist, isn't it?
It is pointless to resist, my son.
Don't resist. Don't resist.
It is pointless to resist, my son.
Lack, lack, lack.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Only we lack is a little overall leadership.
If I know more of any man alive than that which maiden modesty doth warrant, let all my sins lack mercy.
The Emperor's coming here?
That is correct, Commander. And he is most displeased with your apparent lack of progress.
And he was moaning about the lack of bathing facilities.
Ignore, 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 ignore.
Ignore it.
The sort that Borden can't ignore.
This is something you can't ignore anymore.
Is there any chance that you could ignore what I just did?
So, just ignore those guys?
Challenge. 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 Challenge.
There is courage still, strength enough perhaps to challenge him.
But I must tell thee plainly, Claudio undergoes my challenge.
Sammy was my first real challenge.
Now that is a challenge. That is a challenge. Please, please.
He's not up to the...
Miniature. Miniature. Miniature.
Technically, that's a fancy step cut surrounded by miniature brilliant.
When what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh. And
he is a genius, my miniature brother.
Miniature golf?
I haven't been miniature golfing since I was a kid.
Source. 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 Source.
His only source of funds?
Costello can't do much business without coordinating with his source, who is here in the SIU.
the window seems to be the source of the Roman numeral.
It is a gift from God, the source of this love and of the river itself.
And with confirmation from Robbie's source, we're ready to go.
Excel. 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 Excel.
That can be a virtue when it drives us to excel.
For me, sport is actually a chance for us to have other human beings push us to excel.
I excel at practicing.
And students excel in their junior certificate, and some of them have even gone on to university.
That's why I excel at it.
Feminine. 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 Feminine.
You know, it doesn't hurt to talk to him if you have any sage words of feminine advice.
Of course, we agreed early on not to include personal stuff, like my tampons and feminine hygiene spray, and his shaving lotion and foot powder.
Oh, let me present the star of this spectacle, Hell's Angels, Miss Jean Harlow.
Thank you.
They almost didn't hire me because they thought I looked too feminine.
Try and cultivate a little more feminine vanity.
Mount. 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 Mount.
The ring was made in the...
The ring bearer is setting out on the quest of Mount Doom.
The ring was made in the fires of Mount Doom.
Ring, forged by the Dark Lord Sauron in the fires of Mount Doom.
As tensions mount around the metro area, Mayor Stokes has pleaded for cooler heads to prevail.
Compete. Compete. Compete.
Can he compete in this talent pool? Can he win?
Which is another way of saying he doesn't have the nerve to compete.
What's the matter now?
Nothing. It's just a little trying to compete with someone who flies around in spaceships.
Kids hang out, play games, and they compete, and it's a lot of fun. Forcing the Red Cross to start using it too, or we can't compete.
Dread. 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 Dread.
It, run from it, destiny arrives all the same.
Day the dread of learning who has fallen, who will not return from this terrible war.
A kid who had illegally scaled the junkyard fence might hear the dread cry, "Chopper, sick balls."
Masculine, masculine, masculine.
Masculine temperament. I apparently have a masculine temperament. Masculine intellect.
What is idiotic about power making a woman masculine? What is idiotic about power making a woman masculine?
He was insensitive and nasty, but he was a strong masculine presence on the radio.
Right here in Chicago, girls plucked from families are gathered in the field to see which one of them can be the most masculine.
Menace, menace, menace.
He was a menace.
The car belongs to a known traffic menace.
Everything else in the air.
The car belongs to a known traffic menace.
He's a menace to himself and everything else in the air. You're a menace, man.
No. Employ a member of the Communist Party or anyone refusing to cooperate in our struggle with this terrible new menace.
Tendency, 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 tendency.
I have a tendency to nod to black people.
And you have a tendency to forget that.
Citizen X has probably had a tendency toward isolation since childhood.
Well, that has a tendency to happen.
I know I have a tendency to get involved with unavailable men.
Underestimate, underestimate, underestimate.
Oh, you underestimate yourself.
Don't underestimate the Force.
Never underestimate the power of denial.
You should never underestimate the predictability of stupidity.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
Victorious, 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 victorious.
We fight. That's what we do. This is a stem of that victorious stalk.
Are our brows bound with victorious wreaths?
For we shall be victorious in our quest.
Sexy and
Numerous, numerous, numerous,
The infamous Hydra agent linked to numerous acts of terrorism and political assassinations.
My numerous relations. I think it was because of all my numerous relations. You were the one Baggins that showed real spirit.
The infamous Hydra agent linked to numerous acts of terrorism and political assassinations.
Numerous relations is a part of the way I am.
There are numerous missions that I should inspect.
On numerous occasions, communist agitators have tried hard to steer us into the Red River.
flexible, 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 flexible.
She, flexible?
I must keep flexible and play the situation by ear.
If I could be a bit more flexible again, like last time, it would be...
You'd have to luck out with an understanding, flexible judge.
You gotta be flexible to get out there, guys.
بچه‌ها از اینکه تا پایان این ویدیو منو همراهی کردین خیلی ازتون ممنونم. لطفاً لایک کنید اگه از فیلم خوشتون اومد، حتما ساب کنید و زنگوله رو بزنید تا هر وقت براتون فیلم جدید گذاشتم ازش مطلع بشین و کامنت هم برام بذارید که باعث دلگرمی من میشه. امروز تا درس اول فصل دوم 504 لغات ضروری رو با هم دیگه دوره کردیم. برای روزهای آتی 4 تا درس باقی مونده رو با هم دیگه دورش رو میذاریم تا بعد هم وارد خودآزمایش بشیم و بخش دوم فصل دوم در واقع 504 لغات ضروریمون هم تموم بشه. از اینکه تا پایان این ویدیو من همراهی کردین خیلی ازتون ممنونم. تا جلسه بعدیمون که 4 تا درس بعدی رو به صورت جمع شده در یک جا به صورت جمع بندی با هم دیگه ببینیم. خداحافظ.